My wife said, "It was a mistake 18 years ago." I replied, "And the pastor was a wolf." Then I pretended to forgive her, started planning our 25th anniversary vow renewal, and sent a special invitation to the elders of his current church. And I just smiled, because the theme of our anniversary party is unforgivable sins. And I've already prepared the slideshow. Original post: I am 50 years old. My wife Sarah is 55. We have been married for 25 years and have 3 children. Our oldest is 23, and our 2 youngest are 16 and 14. For the last decade, I would have told you I was one of the luckiest men alive. We had weathered the early storms of marriage, raised a wonderful family, and settled into a comfortable, loving partnership. We were best friends. Don't miss the twist. Subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Our 25th wedding anniversary is in a few months, and I had started planning a surprise vow renewal ceremony. I was in the attic, digging through old boxes of photos, looking for pictures for a slideshow to celebrate our life together. Tucked away in a dusty box of old papers, I found something I hadn't seen in years: a small, leather-bound journal she used to keep in the early 2000s. I smiled, thinking it would be full of memories of our oldest child's first years. I sat down on the dusty floor and opened it. Most of it was exactly what I expected. Notes about our son's first steps, funny things he said, the joys and stresses of being new parents. But then I came to a section from about 18 years ago. It was a time when our marriage was struggling. We were young, stressed with a toddler, and we had grown distant. We were going to a small community church at the time, and our pastor, a man named John, had been counseling us. As I read, a cold, sick feeling began to creep into my stomach. The entries changed. They were no longer about our son or our marriage. They were about John. She wrote about his kind eyes, his understanding voice. She wrote about their private counseling sessions, the ones I didn't know about. Then, I read the entry that stopped my heart. "I did something terrible today," it read. But it felt so right. After our session, John held me and we kissed. I know it's a sin. He's a married man of God. I am a married woman. But I think I am falling in love with him. I kept reading, my hands shaking. The entries that followed detailed a full-blown affair. Secret meetings. Lies to me about where she was going. It went on for months. I looked at the dates. Our 2 youngest children, my daughter and my son, were born in the years that followed this period. The happy memories of their births, their childhoods, our entire life since then. It was all suddenly tainted. Poisoned by a secret that was almost 2 decades old. I sat in the silence of the attic, the dust motes dancing in the single beam of light from the window, and I felt the entire 25-year foundation of my life turn to sand. The man she had cheated with was not just any man. He was our pastor, a man I had trusted with my soul, a man who had sat in our living room and counseled us on the sanctity of marriage, all while sleeping with my wife. He was a wolf, and we had welcomed him into our flock. I closed the journal, took a picture of the most damning pages with my phone, and put it back in the box exactly where I had found it. The plan for a surprise party was still on, but the theme had just changed from celebration to damnation. Update 1. For a week, I was a ghost in my own home. I went through the motions of our life, but the man who had sat in the attic reading that journal was gone, replaced by a cold, calculating stranger. Sarah was oblivious. She was happy, humming in the kitchen, talking excitedly about our upcoming anniversary. Every loving glance, every casual touch felt like a fresh betrayal. I knew I couldn't wait months to confront her. The public exposure was for him, for the final act. The private confrontation was for me. I needed to see her face when the lie died. I chose a quiet Sunday evening. The kids were in their rooms. We were sitting in the living room, the same room where Pastor John had once prayed with us. I kept my voice calm, almost conversational. I was up in the attic looking for old photos for the anniversary party. I began. She smiled, nodding. "I found your old journal." The smile vanished. I saw a flicker of something in her eyes, not guilt, not yet. Just a vague, distant apprehension. "Oh," she said. "I haven't seen that in years." "I read it," I said. "I read about your counseling sessions with Pastor John. The ones I didn't know about." Her face went pale. The book in her lap slipped to the floor. "I don't know what you're talking about." she whispered. But the denial was weak, pathetic. I didn't raise my voice. I just took out my phone and held it up. The screen glowed with the photo I had taken of the journal entry, her own handwriting clear as day. I think I am falling in love with him. She stared at the phone, then at me, and she just broke. It wasn't a loud sob. It was a quiet, defeated collapse. The excuses came out in a torrent of tears. It was a mistake. It was 18 years ago. Our marriage was in a bad place. She was lost, and he had taken advantage of her. I let her cry. I let her spin her narrative of victimhood. When she was finally done, exhausted and looking up at me with pleading eyes, I just shook my head slowly. He was married, Sarah, I said, my voice cold as ice. You were married. You both made a choice. And then you made another choice, every single day for the next 18 years, to lie to my face. We had 2 more children. We built a life on top of that lie. It's in the past, she pleaded. We're happy now. Can't you just forgive me? For the sake of our family. This was the moment. The moment I set the trap. I let a long silence hang in the air. I let her see the conflict on my face, the pain. I don't know, I said, my voice thick with fake emotion. But I don't know if I can. But our anniversary, 25 years. I don't want to just throw it all away. I saw a flicker of hope in her eyes. It was the hope of a person who thinks they might just get away with it. We need to talk about this, I said. But maybe we can find a way through it. I stood up and went to the guest room. I closed the door, leaving her in the living room with the belief that our marriage might just survive. She had no idea she was already standing in its grave. Update 2. The week that followed was a masterclass in deception. I moved back into our bedroom. I was distant, but I was present. I told Sarah that I was trying to process it, trying to find a path to forgiveness. She, in her relief, was cloyingly affectionate. She cooked my favorite meals. She talked constantly about how grateful she was for my grace, for my willingness to fight for us. It was sickening. My days were spent in quiet, methodical preparation. The 25th anniversary party was no longer a surprise. I told her I wanted to plan it with her, to make it a vow renewal, a public recommitment to our marriage after this difficult time. She loved the idea. She saw it as the final seal on her absolution, a public declaration that all was forgiven. She was an enthusiastic co-conspirator in her own public execution. My main target, however, was John. I knew he had left our old church about 10 years ago, but I didn't know where he had gone. A few hours of online searching gave me everything I needed. He wasn't just a pastor anymore. He was Pastor John, the head of a thriving megachurch in a wealthy suburb 3 states away. He had a weekly television program. He had written books on family, faith, and the sanctity of marriage. He was a pillar of his community, a wolf who had convinced a new, much larger flock that he was a sheep. I found the church's website. It listed the names of the board of elders, the powerful men who governed the church and its finances. I crafted a special invitation. It was elegant, printed on heavy cardstock. It invited Pastor John and the esteemed members of the church board to be the guests of honor at our 25th anniversary vow renewal. In the invitation, I wrote a personal, handwritten note. Dear Pastor John, it read. It has been many years, but the guidance you gave me and my wife during a difficult time in our marriage has never been forgotten. Your counsel was the rock upon which we rebuilt our lives. As we celebrate 25 years of marriage, it would mean the world to us if you, and the leaders of your current flock, would join us as we publicly reaffirm the sacred vows you once helped us to protect. It was a work of art. I sent the invitations via courier. I knew he wouldn't be able to resist. The opportunity to be flown across the country, to be honored as the wise savior of a marriage, would be an irresistible feast for his ego. He was walking into a trap he couldn't even see. Update 3. As the date of the party approached, Sarah's relief and happiness were almost manic. She was a whirlwind of planning. The catering, the flowers, the guest list. She talked endlessly about our vow renewal, about how it would be a new beginning for us. She was so convinced she had gotten away with it, so confident in my forgiveness, that she was completely blind. One evening, she came into the living room, her face glowing. She was holding 2 plane tickets. They're coming, she said, her voice giddy. Pastor John and 3 of his church elders. They said they would be honored to attend. Can you believe it? That's wonderful, honey, I said, my voice a perfect imitation of a happy husband. Inside I felt a cold, grim satisfaction. The final pieces were falling into place. There were moments of doubt. Late at night, lying next to her, I would wonder if I was a monster. Was I about to destroy my family, my children's lives over a mistake that happened 18 years ago? Was this righteous justice, or was it just cruel, petty revenge? Then I would remember the words in her journal. I would remember the years of lies. I would remember the man she had become, a hypocrite in a pulpit, preaching about family values while he had actively worked to destroy mine. And my resolve would harden. This wasn't about a mistake. This was about a secret. A cancer that had been allowed to fester in the heart of my family for 2 decades. It had to be cut out. And it had to be done in the light, for all to see. I spent my evenings in my office, working on the slideshow for the party. It was not a collection of happy family photos. It was a meticulously crafted presentation. I had the pages of her journal professionally scanned. I had created slides, each with a quote from her own hand, detailing her love for him, their secret meetings, her lies to me. I paired the journal entries with photos of our family from that time. A happy Christmas morning, a child's birthday party, moments of joy that were, for me, now forever tainted. The final slide was a simple, stark image of Pastor John's smiling face, taken from his church's website, with the caption, "A wolf in sheep's clothing." The presentation was ready, the trap was set. Final update: our 25th anniversary party was a beautiful affair. We held it at a lovely old country club. Over 100 of our friends and family were there. Our children were beaming. Sarah was radiant in a new white dress, looking every bit the blushing bride. Pastor John and his 3 elders were the guests of honor, seated at a table right next to the stage. They were a picture of pious dignity. After dinner, it was time for the speeches. I went up to the podium, a microphone in my hand. The room fell silent. I started by talking about our 25 years together, about the joys and the struggles. I talked about our beautiful children. I talked about the importance of family and faith. Sarah was looking at me, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. Then, my tone began to shift. About 18 years ago, I said, my voice growing colder, our marriage hit a difficult patch. We sought counsel from a man we trusted completely. A man of God. He sat in our home and spoke to us about the sanctity of the marriage vow. I looked directly at Pastor John. He was smiling, nodding, basking in the praise. This man, I continued, my voice now hard as steel, used his position of trust not to heal our marriage, but to begin an affair with my wife. A collective gasp went through the room. Sarah's face went white with horror. Pastor John's smile vanished. For 18 years, I lived in blissful ignorance, I said, my voice rising. But the truth has a way of coming out. And tonight, I want to share the truth with all of you. I clicked a remote in my hand. The large screen behind me, which had been displaying a happy photo of us, flickered to life. The first slide appeared, a scanned page of Sarah's journal, her handwriting clear for all to see. I clicked through the slides, one by one, as a dead silence fell over the room. Her words, her confessions, her love for him, all displayed for our friends, our family, our children, and his church elders to see. When the final slide, the picture of John, appeared on the screen, I turned to face my wife. It was a mistake 18 years ago, I said, my voice trembling with a finally released rage. And you have been lying about it ever since. I looked at the elders. And that man, that pastor, was a wolf. I dropped the microphone on the stage. I walked over to Sarah, who was just sitting there, completely frozen, a statue of shame. Our marriage is over, I whispered. Get out. Then I walked off the stage, through the stunned, silent crowd, and out of the country club. I didn't look back. It has been 6 months. The divorce is almost final. I got the house. I have the kids. Their world has been shaken, but they are resilient, and our relationship is built on a new foundation now: absolute honesty. Sarah is living with her sister. She is a pariah. Her family is ashamed. Her friends are gone. Pastor John was removed from his church the week after the party. The elders, faced with undeniable proof and public humiliation, had no choice. His career, His reputation, his life as a man of God, it's all over. My life is quiet, I don't feel happy. But I feel free. I am no longer living a lie. My revenge was not about causing pain. It was about exposing the truth. It was about taking a secret that had poisoned my life for 18 years and holding it up to the light. They say the truth shall set you free. They just don't tell you that sometimes it has to burn everything else to the ground first.